The eviction notice is taped crookedly to the glass door of the bookstore. When Lena Brooks returns with a paper cup of coffee, rain needles the sidewalk outside, turning the street into a smear of reflected neon and passing headlights.
You have got to be kidding me.
She balances the coffee on the window ledge, peels the paper from the door, and reads the notice twice.
60 days to vacate. Because the building is scheduled for redevelopment. Of course it is.
Her fingers tremble and the ink blurs for a second. The letters swimming like they want to rearrange into mercy. They do not.
Not today. Apparently.
She unlocks the door, flips the sign to open again, even though it is almost closing time, and steps into the narrow warmth of the shop. The air smells like paper, dust, and the faint citrus cleaner she uses every night on the front counter. Shelves lean toward one another like old friends, tall and slightly crooked, carrying stories older than she is. This is the only place in the city where she feels almost complete. Even with the hollowed-out years in her mind, 3 years of missing time live behind her ribs. Everything about her first love carved out by metal and shattered glass. Faces, places, conversations, all gone, leaving only a constant ache that something important once lived there.
Okay. One problem at a time.
She sets the eviction notice on the counter, takes a long swallow of coffee, and walks toward the back room to keep sorting boxes. The back room is a cave of cardboard and memories she does not own. Stacks of donations and the last belongings of Mr. Ellis, the previous owner.
You really left me a mess, old man.
Her voice is fond because Mr. Ellis saved her after the accident, gave her a job, then the keys, then the deed when he retired. He said the store would help her remember who she was. That stories know how to find their way home. Right now she would settle for remembering why a stranger in her dreams feels like a heartbreak she never finished having. She kneels beside a crate marked personal and starts lifting out ledgers, old bookmarks, and mismatched mugs with fading logos.
Rent increases, redevelopment, and mystery boxes. What a glamorous life.
At the bottom of the crate, wrapped in tissue paper and tied with a thin blue ribbon, she finds a leather-bound book with a brass combination lock. The leather is worn soft, the edges darkened by years of hands, the spine unmarked by any title.
What are you, exactly?
She turns it over and finds a note taped to the back, written in Mr. Ellis' small, precise handwriting. For Lena, it reads, "If you ever get tired of missing pieces, start here."
Missing pieces. That is one way to put it.
Her thumb finds the combination lock and pauses over the tiny metal dials, each one waiting for a number.
If this is a prank, I am going to haunt you first, Mr. Ellis.
He once joked that magic hides in plain sight, that some books do more than tell stories, they lend them. She inhales, sets the dials to her birthday, and hears the soft click as the lock releases like a held breath. The first page is not paper but a thin screen, gray and waiting, and as she touches it, words ripple into existence. Welcome to the Memory Lending Ledger. Lena Brooks, it says. You may borrow one memory at a time.
No way!
Her heart slams against her ribs because she has wished for this exact impossible thing on too many nights to count. The page scrolls on its own, listing rules in neat lines, each one simple and terrifying in equal measure. Every borrowed memory must be returned after 24 hours. It reads side effects may include emotional overflow. You may not borrow your own memories directly, only the memories others have of you, with their consent recorded in this ledger.
So, I can see myself through someone else's eyes. This is insane.
Her fingers hover over the small prompt that has appeared. A single blinking line under the words available entries. Only one entry glows softly on the screen, tagged with a date from 5 years ago, and the caption rain and an umbrella.
First taste is free, I guess.
She taps the entry before she can second-guess herself, and the world of the back room dissolves around her. Rain comes first. A cold silver curtain that soaks everything. Then the smell of wet asphalt and brewing coffee. She feels the memory not as herself, but as someone taller, someone watching her younger self sprint across a crosswalk without an umbrella. She sees her own face, a little softer, mouth laughing, hair plastered to her cheeks, and feels a rush of aching affection that is not her own. Memory Lena stumbles and curses. Then someone steps beside her and lifts an umbrella, tilting it so the rain misses her by inches.
You always forget the umbrella. She always forgets, and I never remember to mime.
The voice is male, warm, threaded with amusement, and something gentler that makes her chest ache inside the memory.
She looks ridiculous and perfect, and I want to tell her that someday, but not yet, not like this.
The borrowed perspective lingers on the raindrops in her eyelashes, the way she scrunches her nose, the way she leans into the shared umbrella. Affection builds into something sharper. Love edged with fear, and a hint of impending loss. And then the memory ends. She is back on the floor of the back room, breathing hard, the ledger warm in her hands like it remembers too.
Who were you?
Her voice cracks on the question. Because whoever lent that memory loved her enough to sign away a piece of their heart. The front bell of the store rings, a small cheerful chime that snaps her out of the afterglow and into the present.
Just a second.
She snaps the ledger closed, tucks it under her arm, and hurries through the stacks back to the front counter. A man stands by the new releases table, rain dripping from his dark hair onto the floor, hands shoved into the pockets of a navy coat. He turns at the sound of her steps, and the world lurches, because her heart reacts before her thoughts catch up. He is all sharp jaw and tired eyes and rain-soaked collar. And there is something in his gaze that flashes like recognition, and then hides.
Hi, sorry. I know you are almost closed. I am looking for a very specific book.
You came through a storm for a book. That is either insane or very on brand. Welcome.
I guess that makes us both on brand. I am Aaron. I heard this place is good with impossible requests.
His smile is small and careful, as if it has been used up on other battles today, and he is saving the rest.
Lena, and impossible is kind of our specialty. What are you looking for?
An out-of-print architecture monograph. The city before the glass towers. I was told you might have a copy hidden somewhere.
He looks around the store like he already knows it. Like every crooked shelf and scuffed floorboard is a landmark in an old map.
You sound weirdly confident about that.
I have good instincts about places that matter.
His gaze flicks down to the leather ledger clutched against her side, curiosity sparking. Then he looks away so fast, she almost thinks she imagined it.
Let me check the back. Keep dripping on the mat, not the books.
Yes, Mom.
The familiar southern tilt to his mom makes something inside her twist. A ghost of a memory she cannot reach. She heads back toward the storage room, ledger pressed tighter to her ribs, unaware that Aaron watches every step, like a man seeing a miracle twice. Lena does find the architecture book, wedged sideways between two forgotten travel guides in the back room, exactly where Mr. Ellis probably hid it.
Of course you were telling the truth. Impossible requests, fine.
She brings the book to the front, where Aaron is flipping through a paperback about city folklore, his coat now dripping politely onto the entry mat.
You have good timing. I was about to close forever. Give or take 60 days.
I hope that is a dramatic bookstore joke, and not a cry for help.
Eviction notice, redevelopment, the usual urban nightmare. Maybe I should start charging rent to the ghosts too.
That is rough. This place deserves better than becoming another glass cube no one loves.
He says it with a conviction that surprises her, like he knows every creak of the wood under his shoes.
Maybe I can help a little. I am an architect. I work with people who occasionally remember cities need history.
An architect who hunts rare books, that tracks, shelves are just horizontal skyscrapers.
He laughs, the sound rough around the edges, and the knot in her chest loosens a fraction. They talk about zoning boards and reading habits while she rings up the book, an easy rhythm that feels instantly familiar.
If you ever want ideas for reorganizing the space, I sketch better than I small talk. I could trade plans for store credit.
Careful, that is how people get trapped here. They offer to help and I pay them in coffee and existential dread.
I can handle coffee and dread. I already live in the city, remember?
He leaves with the book and a promise to come back with ideas. And she tells herself the flutter under her ribs is just gratitude. That night, alone under the weak light in her small apartment above the store, she opens the memory-lending ledger again. There is another glowing entry now, dated 4 years ago, tagged library, late night, exam week.
Someone missed me enough to donate multiple memories. Whoever you are, you were committed.
She selects the second memory and leans back as the room falls away. The university library unfolds around her, all harsh fluorescent light and overcrowded tables. The smell of burnt coffee and anxiety. From the borrowed point of view, she sees herself across the table, hair in a messy knot, sweatshirt slipping off one shoulder, surrounded by color-coded notes.
She pretends she hates this class, but she works harder than anyone I know. She taps her pen when she's stuck. She insists on buying me coffee. Even when she is broke, she memorizes tiny details that no one else notices.
Memory Lena yawns and shoves a practice exam across the table, mouthing a complaint that does not reach the sound of the borrowed ears.
She thinks she is average when she is brilliant. She does not see how the room softens when she laughs.
The sensation of love is thicker here, threaded with exhaustion and shared ambition. And it wraps around Lena like a blanket she forgot owning. When the memory releases her, her cheeks are wet, her heart pounding, like she just sprinted across campus again.
How can I miss someone I cannot name?
Downstairs, a stray siren wails past on the street, and the store creaks softly under her feet, like it is listening. The next morning Aaron returns, true to his word, armed with rolled sketches and a cardboard tray, with 2 cups of coffee balanced on top.
I bring offerings, caffeine, and gratuitous floor plans.
If the plans are half as good as the coffee smells, you can stay.
They spread the sketches across the checkout counter, ink lines reimagining her tired shelves as floating islands and cozy nooks.
You have dead corners, we can turn them into reading alcoves. Move this shelf, add warm light, make the back room less like a crypt.
Some of us like the crypt vibe, but this is actually amazing.
He notices the eviction notice half buried under a stack of invoices, and gently slides it aside without comment.
Tell me what you want this place to feel like in 10 years. Pretend the notice does not exist for a minute.
Like a memory people can walk into. Somewhere you bring your worst day and leave lighter than you came in.
Then, that is what we designed for.
He spends the afternoon measuring shelves and humming under his breath, a tune that makes her pause halfway through shelving new arrivals.
Where did you hear that song?
What song?
She realizes she has been humming along without noticing. The melody pulled straight from the library memory she watched last night.
The one you were just humming. It was in my head already. That is weird.
Oh, that. Old study playlist. I guess I am predictable.
His answer is too quick, his smile a fraction too tight, and her instincts flare, whispering that she has heard him sing it before.
Maybe we went to the same college and just bumped into each other at the worst campus cafe.
Maybe.
The word lands heavy, like it carries every unsaid thing between them on its back. Later, after closing, Lena sits with the ledger open on the counter, fingers hovering over another new entry that has appeared. Study room, first snow. Reads the tag and her pulse stutters, because the date lines up with the accident she cannot remember.
Did you sign this too, mystery boy?
She does not notice the small camera icon in the corner flash once, logging her choice, or the way the entry author field now reads Aaron W. The third memory hits harder than the others. Maybe because Lena knows it hovers near the cliff edge of whatever broke her life in half. Snow swirls outside a campus study room window, thick and relentless, turning the world beyond the glass into a white blur. From the borrowed perspective, she sees herself sitting cross-legged on a table, boots on the chair, gestures painting shapes in the air as she talks.
She is explaining some wild plan for our future? A bookstore with a coffee bar and free tutoring nights. She believes we can build anything. I want to tell her I already built my future the moment I met her. But I joke instead, because I am a coward.
Memory Lena throws a balled-up napkin at the camera view, laughing. Then her face sobers when a phone buzzes on the desk.
It is my father again. 3rd call in an hour. He never calls this much unless something is very wrong.
He answers, and the air in the room changes, bright ease draining out, leaving a tight, brittle silence behind.
He talks about duty and image, and the family name, about a merger that needs my face attached, about a woman I have never met. He says, Lena is a distraction we cannot afford, and that I will outgrow her once I see the world properly. He does not know she is my world.
Memory Lena watches his face fall, her own smile fading, as if it is wired directly to his heart rate.
I promise my father I will handle it, which means I promise to break my own heart, and hers to keep her safe from this mess.
The memory fractures there, like someone has scratched over the film, snow and fluorescent light blurring together, sound turning to static. Lena gasps as she returns to herself, stomach rolling, fingertips numb against the ledger pages.
Why can I see the fight starting, but never how it ends?
Her therapist calls it defensive amnesia. the brain shielding itself from trauma. But it feels more like someone cut the film and walked away. Downstairs, the front bell jingles, and she hears Aaron greeting a customer, his easy voice threading through the shelves. He has started spending most evenings at the shop, helping her implement small changes from his plans, never mentioning the eviction deadline. He builds a new display table that catches sunlight in the mornings, installs softer bulbs that turn the aisles golden at dusk. Customers compliment the changes, lingering longer. And Lena feels a growing pride that mixes uneasily with the sense of borrowed time.
Do you ever take a break? You are going to shelve yourself into the floor.
This place is my break. It is everything else that feels like work.
Even architects are legally required to eat sometimes. Pretty sure that applies to booksellers too. Come on, dinner.
Are you asking as a friend of literature or as my unpaid interior designer?
As someone who hates seeing you look like the world is sitting on your shoulders, let me buy you noodles.
She hesitates, heart giving that now familiar stutter. Then agrees, convincing herself that sharing one meal is harmless. The noodle shop is small and steamy, windows fogged, tables jammed together, a cozy chaos that makes the city feel less sharp.
So, what did you want to be before you decided books and financial ruin were your destiny?
I think I already was who I wanted to be. I just cannot remember her very well.
The accident.
Car crash. Wrong place. Wrong time. My brain decided first. Love and college years were optional storage, apparently.
Do you want those memories back?
Does it matter what I want? My neurologist says some doors stay closed, even if you pound on them.
Maybe there are other doors.
His eyes search hers as he says it, like he is begging her to read more than the words, to notice the tremor under his calm. Before she can press, his phone buzzes on the table, screen lighting with a name that makes his hand stiffen.
You can take it. I will not withhold your noodle privileges.
He silences the call instead, but not before she catches the name Wade Holdings on the caller ID. The surname hits something in her chest, sparking a flash of snow and fluorescent light, a study room she cannot quite focus.
Family, checking in.
Something like that. They think they can schedule my life, like a construction timeline.
He jokes, but the tension stays in his jaw. And she suddenly wonders what kind of pressure would drive someone to choose duty over happiness. The answer arrives 2 days later in the form of a glossy magazine left on the bookstore counter by a chatty regular.
Hey Lena, have you seen this? The city golden boy is apparently engaged. Thought your architect friend might be crushed.
She laughs it off until she sees the cover, a polished photo of Aaron in a tailored suit beside a sleek woman in diamonds. The caption calls him Aaron Wade, heir to Wade Holdings, engaged to the daughter of another development empire. The alliance of the year.
You have got to be kidding me.
The floor tilts under her, betrayal blooming in her chest, even though he is technically a stranger in this version of her life. That night, she opens the ledger with shaking hands and finds yet another new entry glowing insistently. Unspoken apology. Reads the tag. No date, no location. Just those words and a signature that makes her breath catch. Aaron W.
So you know what this does, and you are still keeping secrets.
She taps the entry anyway, because she is furious and aching and desperate to understand which version of Aaron is true.
I signed this because I owe her more than the silence I wrapped around our ending. I owe her the truth someday, if she ever finds this, if she ever borrows this moment. I want her to know I never stopped loving her, that I chose her safety over my own heart. I am sorry for every lie I will tell, for every time I pretend not to know her, for standing in her store and acting like a stranger.
The words are not attached to images, just a heavy flood of regret and love that slams into Lena like a wave.
Are you him? Are you the boy under the umbrella? The guy in the library? My missing heart?
The city answers with a storm the night the landlord posts the final notice. Sheets of rain pounding the street like a warning drum. Water sneaks under the front door in thin silver lines, pooling on the cracked tile, threatening the lowest row of paperbacks.
Of course! Perfect timing! Bankruptcy and a flood! Why not?
She shoves towels against the door, heart hammering, mind ricocheting between the eviction notice, the magazine cover, and the memory of Aaron's voice apologizing from nowhere. Mr. Ellis would have said, storms wash things clean. But right now, all she feels is the weight of everything sliding out of her control. Earlier that day, she had found an old photo tucked inside a poetry collection, the edges worn, the image half missing. She recognized herself instantly younger, laughing at the camera. Hand held by someone just outside the torn frame. On the back, in her own handwriting, were the words, "First bookstore blueprint." We did it.
Who did this with me?
Her fingers had traced the torn edge again and again, trying to coax the missing figure back into existence, but nothing surfaced except a headache and the taste of snow. Now the photo lies on the counter next to the ledger. Both of them silent, both full of answers she cannot quite reach.
If you are him, if you are the one who left these memories, why would you pretend we are strangers?
She has not seen Aaron all day. Her texts unread, her mind spinning scenarios. She hates images of him smiling politely at his Polish fiancée for cameras. The storm rattles the front windows, thunder rolling over the rooftops, and Lena finally gives up on saving the floor for the night. She locks the door, turns off most of the lights, and sinks to the floor behind the counter, knees pulled to her chest.
I am so tired of chasing ghosts.
Her head tips back against the shelves, eyes closing, the sound of rain becoming a roar that drowns out everything else. The bell over the door rings anyway, faint under the noise, and she startles, heart lurching, because she knows she locked it.
Lena.
His voice slices through the dark like a familiar chord. One her body recognizes before her mind remembers. Why?
We are closed, and apparently condemned, unless you came to buy the whole building tonight.
I tried calling. You did not answer. The street is flooding. You should not be here alone.
I have been alone this whole time. What is one more night?
He steps closer, rainwater dripping from his hair, his coat, leaving small dark circles on the worn wood near her feet.
That is not true, and you know it!
Really? Because, according to that magazine, you are engaged to some corporate princess, which makes whatever this is feel like a cruel hobby.
It is not real! The engagement! It is a boardroom story, leverage, a way to keep the company stable until I can fix things!
You expect me to just believe that, when you have lied by omission since the minute you walked in here.
I have been trying to protect you!
From what? From the truth. From remembering that I loved you once, and you threw me away.
You remember!
I do not remember clearly, but my body does, my heart does, and your name is on the ledger, Aaron Wade.
His face goes still, all the careful gentleness stripped away, leaving raw fear and something like hope.
You opened it. You saw the memories.
The rain, the library, your apology. You stood right here and let me fall for you twice without saying a word. Why?
Because you looked at me like a stranger, and for once you were not already hurt. I wanted to give you a choice without the past crushing you.
You took that choice years ago when you broke up with me. Whatever that looked like, you do not get to rewrite it now.
Lightning flashes outside, throwing their shadows high against the walls. Two figures locked in a stalemate built on missing footage.
Please, let me explain. Not as Aaron Wade, the development heir, but as the idiot who loved you more than my own future.
He kneels in front of her, soaked and shaking, eyes shining in the dim emergency light that the storm has forced on.
I signed those memories because I knew you would never stop feeling the missing pieces. Even if your brain never gave them back. I wanted you to see yourself the way I see you. Brilliant and kind and stubborn. Even if you never remembered my name.
You could have just told me the truth.
Your doctor said sudden, full recall could break you. Your nightmares were already tearing you apart. I thought slow glimpses would be kinder.
Instead, you let me borrow pieces of my own life, like a stranger at the library counter. Do you hear how cruel that sounds?
The storm surges, a gust of wind rattling the door, and one of the towels slips, letting in a small rush of cold water. Aaron stands, moves to reinforce the barrier without thinking. Sleeves shoved up, movements efficient in the chaos. Lena watches him work, sees the way he knows the space, where the floor dips, where the draft sneaks in, like he has mapped it in his bones.
How long have you been coming here, really? Not just this year.
Since the first day Mr. Ellis opened after your accident. I helped him rebuild the shelves when the insurance finally came through. I watched you learn how to love this place again without remembering. You designed half of it with me in college.
The photo on the counter glints, the torn edge catching a flash of lightning, and everything clicks into place with a painful jolt.
You are the missing half of that picture.
Yes.
He does not try to soften it with a joke this time. And the honesty of that small word lands heavier than any apology.
I am the idiot who let you go once. Because I was scared. My world would swallow you whole. I am not letting it happen again.
The morning after the storm, the city feels scrubbed raw, streets shining, sky a hard clean blue that does not match Lena exhausted nerves. The bookstore survived, barely towels heavy with rainwater. A few swollen paperbacks sacrificed on the lowest shelves. She and Aaron spent most of the night bailing and arguing in circles, until the fight burned out into a quiet, aching truce. Now the three of them stand in the aisle by the counter, Lena, Aaron, and Mr. Ellis, who arrived at dawn with a thermos of coffee and a knowing look.
You two finally tripped over the truth, then took you long enough.
You knew. For years you knew. And you said nothing.
I knew a young man came in with eyes like a kicked puppy and begged me to hire his girlfriend when she could not remember him. I knew she lit up around books and dimmed whenever anyone mentioned college. So I gave her stories instead of answers for a while. Memory is a fragile thing, child. Love is stubborn. I trusted the second one to drag the first along when it was ready.
It feels like everyone, except me, had a copy of my life.
That is not what we wanted, I swear. I was just trying not to drop you back into the middle of our worst day, without a net.
Mr. Ellis' eyes soften as he reaches out and taps the ledger on the counter, its leather cover still damp from her palms.
You opened this on your own, Lena. Every memory you borrowed, every tear you shed, those were your choices, not ours. The ledger is a guide, not a prison. It shows you how others saw you, but it never forces you to keep their version.
What about the ending? The night of the accident, the fight he had to handle. I still cannot see it.
There is one more entry you have not touched yet. I locked it until you were strong enough, until you stood on your own feet again.
The ledger screen flickers to life under his fingers, revealing a final glowing line, tagged with the date of the accident and the caption, "The day we broke."
If I watch that, and I cannot forgive him, what happens then?
Then you know, and you decide. That is all memory can offer. It does not dictate what you do next.
Lena looks at Aaron, at the exhaustion and hope etched into his features, at the way his hands flex like he wants to reach for her, and does not dare.
Watch it with me.
If you want me there, I will not look away this time.
They sit side by side on the worn rug behind the counter, shoulders almost touching, the ledger balanced across both their knees. When Lena taps the entry, the bookstore dissolves into the memory of a parking lot slick with freezing rain, streetlights haloed by ice. From Aaron Pass' perspective, she sees her younger self standing by a beat-up sedan, arms crossed, eyes blazing.
I tell her we cannot keep pretending the world will leave us alone. That my family will never accept her. That the merger is already signed. I say terrible things in a flat voice. Because I think if I make her hate me, it will hurt less when I disappear.
Memory Lena throws the keys at his chest. They bounce off and land in a slush puddle, her voice breaking as she tells him she will build the store without him.
She says she would rather be alone than be someone obligation. I watch the future I want to drive away while I stand frozen on the curb.
The borrowed perspective stumbles into his car, hands shaking on the wheel, vision blurred by tears and sleet.
I follow at a distance, headlights white on the black ice. I just want to make sure she gets home. I am too late.
The crash comes in a sickening blur, tires losing grip, the world spinning, Lena car slamming into a guardrail while Aaron screams her name.
I am the one who calls the ambulance, who rides with her to the hospital, who signs forms with shaking hands, while doctors talk about swelling and loss when they say she might never remember the fight. I decide that is my punishment, to carry it alone and give her a chance at a softer story.
The memory fades on the image of him sitting outside her hospital room, wedding plans for a different life piling up in his voicemail. His world split in two, back on the bookstore floor. Lena sobs quietly, chest heaving, Aaron own breath ragged beside her.
I should have walked away from my family that night. I should have chosen you, I keep choosing wrong, and you keep paying the price.
You chose to save me when it counted. You stayed. You built this place with me twice. That has to count for something. I am still angry. I probably will be for a while. But I am also done letting a single night define the rest of my life. If we do this again, it has to be as equals. No secret engagements. No silent sacrifices. No more lending me my own past from the shadows.
I ended the engagement this morning! Before I came here, they can take the buildings! I am keeping my soul this time!
He pulls out his phone, shows her the email chain, the final terse replies, the way his father threatened, and he refused to bend.
I want to fight. For this bookstore with you, for the life we sketched on library tables. I am all in if you are.
We will need funding, petitions, maybe a media stunt. You ready to weaponize nostalgia and local charm?
I have blueprints for adaptive reuse projects that would make the city council's heart grow 3 sizes if we show them.
And you have a cranky old man with decades of community gossip to leverage. Do not underestimate my talents.
Together they draft proposals at the counter. Aaron turning the store into a case study for preserving cultural memory through design. Lena starts an online campaign, posting photos of regulars, stories of quiet miracles that happened between these shelves. The response is immediate and fierce. Signatures flooding in, local journalists calling, city officials realizing demolishing the store would be a public relations disaster. Weeks later, when the redevelopment plan is officially amended to preserve the bookstore as a landmark, Lena stands out front and cries into Aaron's shoulder.
We did it? You did it? This was always your dream?
Our dream, you idiot. I just forgot for a while.
Later, after the reporters leave and the last customer drifts out, Lena places the memory lending ledger on a high shelf behind the counter.
No more borrowing my life. If I remember something now, I want it to be because we are living it, not replaying it.
Then let us make new memories worth keeping, messy and real, and entirely ours.
He cups her face gently, giving her plenty of time to pull away, and when she does not, he kisses her, slow and certain. The kiss feels like that first shared umbrella, and that late-night study session, and every moment in between finally catching up to the present.
For the record, I am choosing you now, with full, informed consent.
Best decision of my life. Twice!
In the glow of the shop lights, surrounded by shelves they built in 2 lifetimes, Lena understands something simple and profound. She may never recover every second of the past, but she has enough now to choose her future, and she chooses this.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.